Wow.
Did that kind of answer the question of when? Mentally in 2003, the day after the night at the club, I was done. But I knew that there were steps I would have to take. My mother's Cadillac needed to be paid.
And so
I had these houses.
Still working at the company then for another 2 to 3 years?
I kind of cut everything down to part-time. I just stopped buying more stuff. And so I would slowly work about part-time just to make monthly payments and expenses.
Would you recommend that more people live a Dharma Bum lifestyle? Do you think that would make the world a better place if they all kind of followed in your footsteps?
No. Definitely not.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend people do what I did. I don't, even in my day-to-day life now, I don't suggest anybody do what I did. What I did was very extreme. And to me, Shakyamuni Buddha and Siddhartha, the prince, that's my role model. He's my teacher. The way he left as a prince and left the wealthy life for a life of, basically a homeless wandering beggar. And if it weren't for, having very loving 66-year-old Jewish parents, I would probably be a monk right now. But all of that really kept me still why I call myself a Dharma Bum, which is, my mind is very much like a monk, but I still engage in the world. And so I don't recommend people just drop out of society, and this is America. We're not a monastic culture. But what I do try to share with people, and which I think addresses the question of would I recommend it to other people, before I left from Taiwan after living in the monastery to come back, a teacher said to me, I said, I don't want to leave. I wanted to stay there. Life was simple. You had no money, no keys, no wallet, no phone, nothing. You just eat 3 meals a day and you meditate and you sweep and do a little bit of work. And I said, I don't want to leave. And she said, Jeff, you have to go back. You need to go back to San Diego and share with people what you've learned. So what I share with people is not drop out and go ship off and go to a monastery. What I share with people is that if you simplify your life a little bit, if you maybe don't buy as many things, if you maybe spend a little more time taking care of your mind and a little less time taking care of, what clothes you put on, things like that. So share with people things that I learned, but not try and get anybody to drop out and take off.
You had said that your parents raised you responsibly. And
yeah.
So it made me wonder, because so many people have feelings of obligation as to what it is they should be doing, and
yeah.
I think I should do this and that. What was your parents' response to this drastic change that you made in your life?
It's interesting because my mom's always known I was a little bit, crazy and different. She could tell, she'll tell you that she's sitting right here, right now, that since I was 2 years old, I did what I wanted to do. That once my mind, I've always been very stubborn, always been very driven, always been very motivated. And once I set my mind on something, it never really mattered to me what anybody else thought about what I did. Now, it is a good thing that I had good parents who raised me well, or I could have gone in a really bad direction.
Pause here a second. Could you sit here just so that the eye line doesn't change too much between you or me asking questions?
When we opened this place here at the end of '06 and they started to come here to some of the events we had and listen to some of the teachers, and when we'd have our, maybe a larger potluck or New Year's thing, they would come here and they would see that I spend every moment of my day trying to help other people. And so they're proud of that. They also, coming here to them, I think was a big, if I was pulling them to the Taiwanese temple all the time, where there's the big Buddhas and everybody's in robes, and I was in a robe, that would have been a little more difficult for them. But the fact that they could come here and see that everybody who comes here is just like everybody who's outside, it was a little bit easier. Now, I'm not saying that this has all been simple for them, but I think they've learned to just accept and embrace the fact that I love what I do and I love helping other people. And so they're proud of that. And they can actually now speak about it in a way that they understand it a little bit. So when I hear them talk to friends about it, it's kind of neat. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to keep them separate.
Okay, so what is a day in the life of a Dharma Bum?
Day in the life of a Dharma Bum is, I think it starts out with really just waking up and realizing that you have no idea what's going to happen today. And you wake up in the morning and you do your meditation, you do your practice, You offer incense to the Buddha, you bow to the Buddha, and you recognize that today is going to be filled with so many causes and conditions that you have no idea what they are, and that you take, as I mentioned earlier, the paramitas, and you look throughout your day, every moment when something happens, am I being generous? Where's my morals, right? How patient am I with this? Am I being diligent? Where's my level of concentration? Where's my wisdom? And you tie all of that into ideally, and some days I'm really good at it, and some days I'm really bad at it. But you try to go throughout your day and look at these types of things. So you start your day knowing that every day is going to be different. And then really the Dharma Bum nature coming from the book, The Dharma Bums, is just very free flowing, going against the stream, right? Against this work, produce, consume. So you're not so tied up in, a typical Western way of life of I must go out and make a bunch of money so I can buy lots of stuff. And here, Dharma Bum Temple life, we don't right now, but when we've had people residing here, we do a morning meditation every day. And so right now, we have meditations here Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, and Sunday night. And then I teach elsewhere on, 2 other nights, or lead a meditation or Buddhist class somewhere else. But here, the life of a Dharma Bum has always revolved around day-to-day basis, the Dharma Bum Temple, and taking care of this place, and knowing that as soon as that door opens, somebody's walking in, and they got a lot of stuff going on. And they're coming here as a place of refuge, as a place to find peace. And in essence, your life revolves around taking care of everybody else who's seeking some sort of refuge. And doing that skillfully without forcing anything on them. Doing nothing other than, as I always say when we have what we call Dharma Bum hosts, the hardest thing about this place, open the door, smile, and ask people if they want tea. And that's it. And so Dharma Bum life really is taking care of the Dharma Bum Temple and allowing Western people who walk by and would, for the most part, never go to a Buddhist temple. Most people come here wouldn't go to a cultural Japanese or Chinese or, maybe Thai temple, but they'll come here. And so being a place where Westerners, and that was, that's my vow going back to when I was in Taiwan, was to really be a bridge for Westerners to learn about Buddhism and allow Buddhism to flourish in this country. But as a great teacher Suzuki said, Buddhism taking root in America is like holding a rock and a flower and putting the flower next to the rock and expecting that flower to take root. It's a long time. So life of a Dharma Bum is being very patient and slowly allowing people when they're ready to learn a little bit about Buddhism and making it accessible for them in a language and in a place that they're comfortable with. And that's why the Dharma Bum Temple is here.
If someone was living here in the Dharma Bum Temple, would there be certain rules in terms of, you should get up by this time of day, you should sleep this many hours at night, you should read or study this many hours, or you should be doing this much service during the day?
It's interesting. In my kind of fantasy world, absolutely. In my mind, we'd be living this hardcore Zen. There's a book, Training of a Zen Buddhist Monk, and we would be a very traditional, old school Zen temple. But I kind of let go of my own little fantasy world and desires with that and realized that this is Dharma Bum life. And so when people resided here, they could sleep as much or as little as they want. All that mattered is when people were coming here for meditation, they were up and they were here to host people. At nighttime, they were here to host people. During the day, we do a homeless outreach program. We redistribute food to the homeless people. So we pick up food that would already be thrown away. Actually, we call it the food redistribution program. We went away from just feeding homeless. We call it sharing food with the hungry, which is one of the Dharma Bums came up with that name, to where food at restaurants or bakeries that would be thrown away, we take it and then we feed people who happen to be hungry. And it's not about buying more stuff. Everybody comes here and they say, I want to cook. It's not about cooking more food, because then you have to go produce and consume. Just look at what's already being wasted. So redistribute food that's already being wasted. So we get involved with stuff like that. With people living here, we did a 2-month program in Brief where we had a group of about 14 people, and they were here 3 nights a week and then on the weekends. And then they also had whether it was working with the homeless, whether it was working in the prisons, whether it was working in some sort of community service environment. So getting very engaged in the community. So